Hello, friends around the world. This is Will Barney from Enoch Global Services, here with another global update on Thursday, March 26th, 2026. And we're here watching unbelievable events occur, and we wanted to talk about some of those today. There's been a lot happening since last week when we did one of these updates, and the progress continues on. As you can see from our title with today's episode, it's called A New Beginning. This will make sense, I think, as we get towards the end of today's podcast about why we chose that as the title today. But there's a lot of great things unfolding in our world today, and we want to get started with presenting some of those to you today. So within the last week, we've had several things come up. First of all, we've had some new images come up on the U.S. debt clock that has given us some new information. So let's take a look at that. The first one here is called the gold window. This came out the day following our last update, and it says Fed war and the gold. And as you can see from the chart from 1900 all the way until 1980, how gold has gone from where it was, which is very low, all the way to 4,500, I believe, an ounce is what it ended up today. But I'm going to read the chart here because I think this says a lot. The Great Fiat Uncoupling. On August 15th, 1971, President Nixon quietly defaulted on America's commitment to exchange gold for U.S. dollars to foreign currencies under the Bretton Woods Agreement. Amazingly, for 47 years, the price of gold was pegged to the U.S. dollar at $35 an ounce. The world had called America's bluff, and the era of unlimited fiat money began. The banker's biggest tool. How do you trap the people and the governments in a debt and interest death spiral? You play the bank's favorite game, War of the Worlds, from 1900 until 1980. The world gold production grew by only 4x, while the U.S. money supply increased by over 200x. After 1971, the banks were finally free to enable their master plan of world domination. This is going to be interesting as it talks about the gold window, because you're going to find that gold will eviscerate this fake fiat system. Next image here, U.S. debt clock news. Should the Fed be charged with fraud in a $3 billion Reno scandal? What are we talking about here? We're talking about the renovation of the Federal Reserve Building in D.C. It says $10,000 per square foot renovation. This is unbelievable. The Fed, a secret, unaccountable agency which creates unlimited amounts of unbacked paper dollars, believes that it's immune to oversight and scrutiny. Now, if any of you have built a house, you know that the average cost of homes is somewhere between $300 and $400 a square foot, nothing close to $10,000. You can only imagine what they're doing with that money if it's actually going to the building or being used for something else. Next, the new alchemy, turning paper into gold. This is very interesting to me because as we've been watching the gold and silver markets over the last month, and I'll show you a chart on this here in a little bit on silver particularly, we've seen all kinds of manipulations going on where the paper version of the metal is not corresponding to the actual physical version. And so I think it's incredible that we have the U.S. debt clock giving us these messages to let us know we're moving into gold. A new form of money, payable to the bearer on demand. Whenever you hear the word bearer, this is usually referring to a bond. And this is very fascinating because bonds typically earn an interest rate and gain in value over time. So if the new money is going to gain value over time, it means that the asset underlying that value is gaining over time. And I think we will see this as we've seen a lot of the assets of the U.S. government placed into the Sovereign Wealth Fund, which allows it to grow and develop and become more. particularly developments such as mining leases, oil leases, etc. Those can gain in value as they become more productive over time. In other news of financial derivative, we have Cointelegraph posted this. Today, Delaware introduces bipartisan stablecoin banking bill requiring one-to-one reserves, monthly audits, and AML KYC compliance under state banking framework. So this is a big deal because we've had numerous states issuing stablecoins. Now we have Delaware getting serious about the use of stablecoin and what they're requiring to back that stablecoin if it's going to be issued. So again, we're going to continue to see news as many of the states adopt stablecoin. Looking at the chart here, this chart is over a 30-month time frame. So throughout the month of March and the end of February, it's currently at $68.76. If you look at where we started the month out, we were all the way up at $92. And from there, we've gone all the way down to 68. Why? What's going on here? Well, there's a lot of things going on. What we've come to learn and find out is that you have 8 major institutions that are shorting about 1/3 of the entire yearly production of silver annually. I mean, the whole world's production. 8 institutions in the United States shorting this. That's insane to me, particularly in an environment where there isn't much physical metal available, and yet that's what's happening. So we're watching manipulation after manipulation. Why are you being shown this? Why are you seeing this? Why are you struggling with this if you're the one holding metal? Because you need to see the corruption of the system. When the system comes down, we need everybody to fully understand there was a reason to take that down and to fix it because the corruption has become out of control. So I do expect we're going to see a little more of this machinations throughout the month of March. And well, we're almost at the end of March, but throughout the month of April. And as we get into May, there's going to be some very interesting things occur. The month of March, we've seen 45 million ounces withdrawn from COMEX registered inventories. This is a significant number, up from a previous record in February of 25 million ounces. So the major withdrawals are being made. So as the shorts are pushing the price down to keep from literally evaporating their entire portfolio, the good money, the smart money, is all investing in the metal, and they're taking delivery at epic levels. So we've had, over the last 6 months, 2/3 of the entirety of inventory that's supposed to be available on the COMEX withdrawn. Now, we'll have to see what the deposits are going forward throughout the month of April to see if they're going to come up with something to balance this. But we're only 3 days away from the first notices of withdrawal standing for delivery begin in the 1st of April. So we're going to be watching this very closely as the physical metal market is very short, very tight, and the paper market is overinflated. We reported in previous reports that there was as much as 350 paper ounces to an actual ounce of silver. Anything over a 1-to-1 could be considered fraud, and is fraud if it's over 1-to-1, because there should be silver backing each representation of silver in the system. So we're watching all of this play out, and they're either going to abandon these short positions to go long and get ready for what's coming, or they may go out of business. So we'll have to watch and see how that plays out. Silver Trade posted this. CME's house accountant stands for silver delivery again. The CME itself stopped another 67 March silver contracts Wednesday, as March silver deliveries have now passed 45 million ounces. Incredible. And there was 3 million delivered just yesterday. The U.S. Department of Treasury reported this news. Treasury announces President Donald J. Trump's signature will begin appearing on future U.S. paper currency. In honor of the 250th anniversary of the United States of America, President Donald J. Trump's signature will appear on future U.S. paper currency, along with the Secretary of the Treasury, marking the first time in history for a sitting president. Under President Trump's leadership, we are on a path toward unprecedented economic growth, lasting dollar dominance, and fiscal strength and stability, said Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent. There is no more powerful way to recognize the historical achievements of our great country and President Donald J. Trump than the U.S. dollar bills bearing his name, and it is only appropriate that this historic currency be issued at the semi-quincentennial. That's our 250th birthday celebration coming on the 4th of July. As the 250th anniversary of our great nation approaches, American currency will continue to stand as a symbol of prosperity, strength, and the unshakable spirit of the American people under President Trump's leadership, said Treasury Brandon Beach. The president's mark on history as the architect of America's golden age economic revival is undeniable. Printing his signature on the American currency is not only appropriate, but also well-deserved. And they did announce that the $100 bill could begin to arrive as early as June. What we do notice in this press release is no mention of two words, Federal Reserve. Keep that in mind as these new dollar bills are going to be released on the 4th of July. President Donald J. Trump posted this. My meeting with the highly respected president of China, President Xi Jinping, which was originally postponed due to our military operation in Iran, has been rescheduled and will take place in Beijing on May 14th and 15th. First Lady Melania and I will also host President Xi and Madame Peng for a reciprocal visit in Washington, D.C. at a later date this year. Our representatives are finalizing preparations for these historic visits. I look very much forward to spending time with President Xi in what will be, I'm sure, a monumental event. Monumental in capital M. An event in a capital E. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. He is scheduled to be back in D.C. on the 17th of May to launch a National Day of Prayer and to announce 49 days of prayer leading up to the 4th of July. This is also meant to be a rededication of the country back to our founding, and most importantly, back to the God that created us, a nation under God. Very fascinating what's going on, that he's meeting with Xi just prior to that event. There's so much planned in the next 90 days, folks. I hope that you've buckled up because there's a lot going on here. Trump answered some questions on Iran this week, and I'll let him speak for himself here.
What makes you trust them?
I don't trust anybody. I don't trust you. I mean, that's only because I know you. But if I didn't know you, I'd probably have more trust. But I don't trust anyone.
Why bother?
Why do you say that? Why do you say what makes you trust? Do you think I trust them? I don't trust them.
Then why bother talking to them?
Because they're going to make a deal. They're going to make a deal. They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money. And I'm not going to tell you what that present is, but it was a very significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
Is that nuclear related?
No, it wasn't nuclear related. It was oil and gas related. And it was a very nice thing they did. But what it showed me is that we're dealing with the right people. Because, you don't know, because the leadership was killed, all gone. Khomeini, all gone. As the expression goes, the past supreme leader. And then the new supreme leader was racked up, at a minimum racked up pretty good. And everyone else was gone. And then many of the people in the third tier are gone. But we're dealing with a group of people that I think turn out. And the the present, the gift they made to us was very significant. And they said they were going to do it, and it happened. And they're the only ones that could have done it. Jennifer?
Was it related to the
So President Trump continues to spar with the press. And of course, he doesn't trust them. This has been the president that has announced them as fake news all along and doesn't like their reporting on most of what is taking place. If you read the papers, you'd think that we're in a tough battle, but we're actually roaming free over Tehran. Listen to how he describes this.
If you read the papers, you think we're tied. You think we're in a tough battle. We are roaming free over Tehran, the city, Tehran, as opposed to Iran. We're roaming free. We can do whatever we want. And as you know, today we were going to have the privilege of shooting down a very big electric generation plant, one of the biggest in the world. And one shot to the right location ends the plant, it collapses. And we held off based on the fact that we're negotiating.
So he's trying to be patient with this process. He is working with negotiations. Everybody's like, he's just going to bomb them into oblivion. But he's, as you will see here in just a little bit, he's actually given them additional time, even beyond this initial reprieve. So very fascinating what we're watching here from the president. This is a change in the Iranian regime because the leaders are all very different. Listen to what he's talking about with the current leaders they're negotiating with.
We killed all their leadership. And then they met to choose new leaders, and we killed all of them. And now we have a new group, and we can easily do that, but let's see how they turn out. We have really regime change. You know, this is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with that created all those problems.
So very different leaders. So it's fascinating how this continues to play out. Trump held a cabinet meeting today with all of his cabinet members. And of course, he did invite the press to join them. And we're going to highlight just a few of the moments. Obviously, there's not time to go through all this, but we're going to highlight a few of these moments because this is important to understand. And I know there are many that listen to these reports from different parts of the world. And I apologize if this is so focused here on what Donald Trump is saying. However, we need to understand that if you haven't figured this out already, there is one man that's running this entire operation to free the world, and it is Donald Trump. So we're focusing a bit on this because the moves and counter moves being made are very important to all of us. So let's listen to some of his opening statements.
The missiles don't do any good. And we've knocked out probably close to 90% of the launchers, probably more than 90% of the missiles themselves. Between some they fired and more than they fired, we knocked out. We've also destroyed a lot of the factories. We're continuing to do that, but a lot of the factories where they manufacture the drones and the missiles. The drones, too, are way down, but the reason they're down is they go one way and they don't come back. Because for the most part, we're shooting them down. But we also are able to, we've really done tremendous damage to the places where they make them. And just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know they're talking. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. And they are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. Or they should have done it when we first came into office, because 2 years ago they had free reign under Biden, Sleepy Joe.
So he's trying to set some precedent here about what's actually going on here with Iran and how this is playing out. Listen to what he says about this being a test for NATO, as we have watched many of the NATO nations throughout Europe react in various different ways to this entire conflict, which I will comment on in just a minute. But listen to what he says first.
Because this was a test for NATO. This was a test. You can help us. You don't have to, but if you don't have, if you don't do that, we're going to remember. Just remember this in a number of months from now. Remember my statements. They have an expression, a great expression. Never forget. You can never forget.
So he's never going to forget what they did, and always remember. Trump asked for NATO nations to support peace in the strait. In other words, to keep the peace so the oil could flow. You have a tremendous amount of energy flowing out of the Strait of Hormuz that's feeding all parts of the world. Japan, China gets a lot of their oil from there. You have countries from Europe that get their oil from there, coming from the Arabian Sea through the Strait. So he was disappointed that many leaders in the NATO nations did not step up to support that. And that's an interesting phenomenon as we think about it, because what you're seeing in this entire conflict and what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz is this is about oil. And the reason it's about oil is because in 1971, as we showed in the U.S. debt clock image, we had our president, Nixon, take us off of the gold standard. And from that point forward, the Federal Reserve note has been declared as the petrodollar. In other words, they wanted all oil to be bought and sold in Federal Reserve notes. And wars have been fought over this issue to actually reinforce that doctrine. Many of those you have seen and witnessed over the last 20 plus years. Iraq is a good example. The 6 months prior to the invasion of Iraq, they were selling all of their oil in euros instead of US dollars as a defiance because of what happened after 9/11 and the attack on Afghanistan, of which it was Saddam Hussein and determined Afghanistan didn't do it. So he was fighting back the only way he knew how to, which was sell oil in a different currency. So you can see what happened with that. There was an invasion. They gave you a different story, weapons of mass destruction, whatever they could come up with to cover the real reason. But it was all about preserving the Federal Reserve note as the petrodollar. This is interesting because the cabal who runs the petrodollar system had control of the U.S. military, so they could enforce that. But under Donald Trump, they have no control of the U.S. military anymore. Now we have different events taking place. Now we have events where we're taking out their military. What you're watching in Iran, and we addressed this last week, but I'll touch on it here, is the removal of the cabal's private army. If you think they wouldn't use those weapons the moment we try to reset the financial system or come out with another dollar, you would be mistaken. They would have used that weaponry on us to prevent any financial change. So what you're watching is all connected together. As everything is moving towards a financial change, a escape from their prison planet of financial tyranny to have a currency that is backed by the assets of each nation. The BRICS countries have been doing this for the past 10 plus years, trying to move in the direction of an asset-backed currency. What you're going to see is the whole world moving to this. I don't think there'll be a need for the BRICS because the world will just simply do it. But you're watching the events unfold that would remove the threat of actual bombs dropping on your head if we tried to do something other than what they've done for the last 100 plus years. So this is a very real war in every sense, and you're seeing it play out. And so that's why when you see different leaders of different nations behaving interestingly about this issue of the petrodollar, and Iran, you begin to see who is on what side. Are you on the side of the people, or are you on the side of the cabal? And it's becoming more and more transparent as we go forward. So we're going to keep reporting on these events. I just want everybody to understand there's a reason for all of this. Venezuela, Cuba, cartels of Mexico, the Shield of Americas to wipe out the cartels in all countries in the Western Hemisphere, taking out the cartel of Iran. The Iranian army does not protect the Iranian people. They don't swear allegiance to the people. They swear allegiance to the cabal. And they have built this army as a defense. The cabal always works in the shadows. They want to do what they want to do. And then when they activate their private army, they can blame, oh, it's that rogue country Iran that did it, not us. It's all subterfuge. They've been doing this in the dark for a long time. They continue to do so. Donald Trump has had this incredible ability to bring everybody out in the middle of the street and show your colors. What side are you on? So now we get to witness this, put it into the broad daylight for all to see. And many of the events that are unfolding are designed in a way to show you who is who and what is going on. And the full extent of the corruption is being exposed as we work our way through this. So let's get back to the slides. We got a lot to cover.
Your economic leadership has made our military mission possible. Mr. President, national security, as you always say, is economic security. Your leadership has shown the American people that there is no prosperity without security. That our mighty military on one side, but the U.S. economic strength is fighting off this evil regime. The Iranians believe they are fighting a two-front war. It is the military war that our great warriors are prosecuting. But on the other side, they are trying to take control of the global economy through a choke point that we believe does not exist and that we will overcome. Your historic operation at Epic Fury seized a generational opportunity to demolish a regime that has coordinated over 4 decades of global terror and claimed thousands of American lives. Many people, especially the Democrats, underestimate the will of the American people for short-term volatility for 50 years of safety that we are going to have on the other side of this. And I believe energy prices will be lower, inflation will be lower before we had the appearance of security, which is not real security. Now, the American people and the world will have absolute security. Through your maximum pressure campaign, Treasury has worked to uncover all financial lifelines through the regime and cut them off. You gave that order last March.
So we have the Treasury Secretary saying, we have cut off all of the financial lifelines of the Iranian regime. They're speaking about the cabal lifelines, the connections between various intelligence agencies such as MI6 and Iran. All of this is known. It's all being tracked. The advanced technology that our future money system will run on has been tracking every penny, every dollar moving everywhere. They know who's involved and they know what they've done. And now we have evidence that has actually, now we hear it from the Treasury Secretary that he's saying, we know who did it. We have the information. And they've been at it for over a year now to get to this point. Let's go to the next part here where I want you to listen to a little bit of what the Secretary of War has to say. And of course, this is about Iran. And let's listen to his words.
A-10 Warthogs, if you know them, you love them, and Apache helicopter gunships are flying strike missions inside Iranian airspace and throughout the Strait of Hormuz at will. See, you only send these slow, low-flying, close air support platforms when the enemy has no meaningful air defenses left. Their presence is proof that Iran's air defenses are gone. Their command and control is shattered, their top leaders hiding in underground bunkers, while their mid-level commanders are being crushed in the field. The morale of their fighters plummeting, and we see that disconnect daily. They're privately admitting, as you said, Mr. President, very heavy losses. We know that. President Trump has given us a clear mission. Our capabilities are only going up and Iran's are plummeting. We are here to win.
So here you are hearing it directly from the Secretary of War about what's going on in Iran. There's been a lot of fake narratives in the fake news, all trying to say that this isn't going in the direction of the U.S. and that Iran is still fighting hard, but their ability is being obliterated at every level. And you have to ask yourself, who owns the press? Does the cabal own the press? And which cabal owns that? So keep your eyes open. It's important. Secretary Sean Duffy, who is the head of the Department of Transportation, had this to say about what had been going on in regard to heavy truck drivers and whether they were even qualified to drive at all.
We have thousands of people who can't speak the language, long-standing rule, and it's a safety issue. Right? If you can't understand road signs, if you can't communicate with law enforcement when you're pulled over and communicate what's on your rig, huge problem. But the last administration, Mr. President, they let truck driving schools self-certify that they were qualified to train truck drivers. And so this is like the Leering Center. So you pay $800 and you get a certificate that you passed a CDL driving school, and again, they have no skills. They don't have the knowledge, and they don't have the skills. They haven't gone through any of the testing. And then they get licenses, and they're killing Americans on our roads. So it's remarkable, the rot that the last administration allowed to take place. We are ending that, and I need partnership with our states. Even California started to come on board. Even Gavin has started to play ball with us, which is surprising. Sure. Not all the way, a little bit of ball.
So even Gavin Newsom helping. He kind of had the squeeze put to him, so he's not doing it out of the goodness of his heart. Let's hear what the Department of Interior, Doug Burgum, had to say in his conversations with Venezuela. And this is very interesting because many people have wondered, well, aren't the Venezuelans upset that the U.S. went in there? Take a listen to what Doug says here.
I literally think they're going to put up a statue to President Trump, and it's not a political statement, it's an actual thing.
So. That would be a great honor.
No, because it's like they view President Trump like...
Little fast forward there.
That flows to American refineries on the Gulf Coast, lowering the price of gas in America. So it's a...
Forget that. When are they going to do the statue? The hell with you.
So Venezuela talking about building a statue to Donald Trump for what he's done to free their people from the oppression that they've been under for all of this time. This will be the final statement that we will play from the cabinet meeting. This is kind of Trump's final words. And he gives a warning to the NATO countries. Take a listen.
An amazing job. I had to do a little stopover. I call it an excursion. I had to do a little stopover in Iran, and we had to knock the hell out of them because our country would not have been safe. The world wouldn't have been safe. I've done a great favor for the world. The world has not been reciprocal, because when I told NATO, where we give billions and billions of dollars, trillions over the years, I said, do you mind coming up and giving us a little hand with the streets? Send up some. They didn't want to get involved. And I believe that's going to cost them dearly. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Going to cost them dearly. What we saw with this Iranian conflict play out, a couple of things that took place, very interesting. Let me go to the other view. So what we saw was that Putin said absolutely nothing, except for the remembrance that he did of the Ayatollah leader, which is nothing more than saving face. It was an optics thing to do. You had many nations of Israel, not Israel, well, some in Israel, but let's just say the nations of Europe that have responded very interestingly to this entire conflict. They don't want to get involved. They don't want to help. They don't want to have any part of this, which has to beg the question, what side are they on? Who pays them to do what they do? What leaders do we have left of the cabal puppets still in Europe? Europe was the first area conquered by the Khazarian mafia, as we talked about last week, and this is still there. So I expect as you're watching this cleanup take place, we're cleaning up the surface here. When you see this, the actions in Venezuela, Mexico, Cuba, Iran, you're seeing us take out the cabal in various parts on the surface of the earth. What does this mean? This means that the last 10 years of deep underground tunnel work are now done. We've eliminated their place to hide, and now we are chasing them from point to point to point. This war is going to be ended. These people don't care about the life of any of us. They tried to kill a third of us with COVID. That we are in still the throes of a war. This physical active war that's going on is necessary. If we don't break the control grid, we don't get freedom of money. We don't get freedom of healthcare. We don't get freedom of education. We don't get freedom of any of it if we can't break that. And guess what else we get? We get freedom from taxes. This is going to be the most incredible event that's ever occurred on this earth. Probably the only thing more consequential for all of humanity is the flood. So it's very fascinating as we look at these events unfold. Watch the leaders, watch their actions. You will begin to see who is on the side of the people and who is on the side of the oppressors trying to continue that control of the people. These are the things that we have to watch for and keep our eyes open to. Donald Trump is trying to explain all of this to many of those who couldn't see it at first. They're now beginning to see it as the corruption and fraud that's been going on for so long is on display. The White House posted this, as per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6th, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Talks are ongoing, and despite erroneous statements to the contrary by the fake news media and others, they are going very well. So they've now been given more time. As I said earlier in the program, we would talk about that. Let's take a look at this next part here.
I have to do something in terms of making America great and keeping America great. And when you have lunatics with nuclear weapons, and the power is beyond belief, I will tell you, as a president, I get to see it. My uncle was a great professor at MIT, and he knew more about nuclear at the time than anybody. He told me stories that were horrible in terms of the power, both beautiful in terms of putting it to good use, but really bad for destruction purposes. And his statements from years ago were, he really got it. He really got it. He was a highly respected man. He was there for 41 years at MIT as a great professor. And he told me about a thing called nuclear. And at the time, nobody knew too much about it. And he said exactly what it was all about. And you can't let a madman, or you can't let a mad ideology have a nuclear weapon. And we hit, as you know, we hit 50,000 in the Dow. Everyone said it would be impossible in 4 years. I hit it in my first year. We hit 7,000 in the S&P, and everyone said that would be even more impossible. We hit it in my first year. And I said, we have to take a little bit of a detour. We have to take a little journey to a place called Iran, where these mad people were going to have a nuclear weapon, and they could do tremendous damage, not only to the Middle East and Israel, but also to our country because we would be next. And I said, we're going to take a little detour and we're going to go and we're going to knock them out. And that's what we've done. We have the greatest military in the world. And it started with the B-2 bombers, which made it impossible for them to do the nuclear. They would have had, if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers like 8 months ago, if we didn't do that, they would have right now a nuclear weapon and they would have used it by this time. And it also happened with Barack Hussein Obama, if you've ever heard of him. Barack Hussein Obama, terrible president, absolutely a divider and a terrible president. And when he did the Iran nuclear deal, he gave them a path to a nuclear weapon within a short period of time. They would have had a nuclear weapon a few years ago, and they would have used it on Israel. They would have used it on the Middle East. And you saw that when this all started. They had no tremendous problem with Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, and you take a look, and UAE, Kuwait, Oman. They had no problem with them. They were doing fine, and yet they hit them with, in the case of UAE, 1,400 missiles, ballistic missiles. And what they were going to do is they were going to hit the Middle East, and they would have hit it with nuclear if they had it because they're stone cold crazy. So in order to keep our country great, I said, we're going to take a fairly short detour. We're going to show everybody that there's nobody even coming close to us militarily. Nobody even comes close. We have the greatest weapons. We have the strongest military. And I rebuilt it. I built and rebuilt our military in my first term, and I got to use it a little bit more than I would have liked to be able, because we had Venezuela, and now we have this. But we're going to keep our country safe. You can't let this happen to us or, frankly, anybody else in the world. We're doing a big service to the world.
So a little bit of a live, this was actually done just today, a little bit of a live interview there with Fox News talking about this. But I wanted to play that part because I thought that everybody should get a feel of what's going on there. It was astonishing to me to watch Iran hit all of these neighboring countries for no reason at all. We don't even know why they did it. And that tells you a little bit about who they are. It's not the people. I'm not talking about the Iranian people. We're talking about the leaders, as Trump calls it, the madmen who are running that entire operation. And that is the real problem. Going on to other news, the Office of the DNI, this is the Department of National Intelligence, delivered to President Trump's cyber strategy for America. Under DNI Gabbard's leadership, the intelligence community is advancing the strategy's third pillar, modernize and secure federal government networks, through the largest IC-wide technology modernization effort in history, to strengthen our defenses, ensure greater efficiency, and implement real cost savings for the American people. As part of this effort, we've defined and rolled out the intelligence community's new zero trust strategy, shifting to a data-centric security model that protects information regardless of location or network. At the same time, we've launched a shared intelligence community repository of cybersecurity authorizations for use by all 18 elements, ending duplicative hardware, software, and accreditation efforts, streamlining operations and saving taxpayer dollars. Let's take a look at the actual information, and this is actually on the White House website that you can find. President Trump's cyber strategy for America. Moving forward, our resolve is absolute. We will act swiftly, deliberately, and proactively to disable cyber threats to America. We will not confine our response to the cyber realm. We will undertake an unprecedented effort, operating in a coordinated and sustained fashion across the U.S. government, working with all allies across the globe. We will promote U.S. interest and security. We will fight the curtailment of free speech, and we will out-compete adversaries who sell low-cost AI and digital technologies that carry embedded censorship, surveillance, and ideological bias. We will partner closely with the industry and academia at the speed and scale commensurate with the threats we face and in accordance with our values. This is fascinating because for many years, as big tech has rolled throughout the world, there have been very little protections put in place to safeguard the data of America. Now you actually see the president trying to take responsibility for this and make sure that we protect the data of America and that we look at the cyberspace as equally threatening as the physical nuclear or missile launchers, as we've been dealing with in Iran. The digital attacks can be just as difficult to deal with because we have so many infrastructure things that can be tied together digitally and operated for, most of it's for monitoring purposes. But if those networks can get infiltrated, you could have entire infrastructure shut down. And so this is the cyber field is an entirely new battlefield of digital. And so very interesting what we're seeing from the presidency there. Secretary Brooke Rollins, head of the Department of Agriculture, said this is what we are fighting for, driven by American grit, defined by American spirit, born here, raised here, harvested here, and processed here, the true American standard. Because when you see that label, it means exactly what it says, product of the USA. They've produced a video. It's very short, but let's take a look.
It means a standard. An American standard.
It means it was born here,
raised here,
processed here.
It means the healthiest food for a healthier future.
If you're going to use the American flag,
it better be American.
From start to finish, supporting American farmers, ranchers,
and producers.
This is what America looks like.
Built on grit, backed by the people who live it.
From generation
to generation.
There's no faking the standard, because when you see this label,
it means exactly what it says.
Born here, raised here,
processed here,
from the land of the free.
Product of USA.
So they've got a new symbol that's going to be going on all of the meat products, particularly the beef industry. But you have many other industries that are going to take this up, and this is going to be the new label that's going to be used across America for all the products that are made here. Very interesting. The United States Trade Representative shared this little bit of information about our agricultural industry. U.S. food and agricultural exports increased by double digits in 2025 under President Trump compared to the previous administration, from corn and eggs to dairy and canola. The best is yet to come as POTUS continues to deliver lasting wins for the American farmers and ranchers. And of course, you can see all these increases. The minimal increase there was over 10%, and the biggest increase was well over 30%, which was in corn. So very fascinating as we begin to see additional export. Exports is big because this is about product that we make here in America that we can sell around the world, and that brings money into the country. It helps to balance the trade deficits. Fox News reported this. Perks have been purged. Delta is now grounding the specialty services that allow members of Congress to bypass the TSA lines as the DHS shutdown enters its sixth week. The airline says its priority is paying passengers, not the political privileged. This is pretty big. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. The White House presented this. President Trump and Secretary of War have announced full benefits for National Guard troops equivalent to those of other active service members. And we've actually got a video that we're going to play on that topic a little bit later. In record numbers, the mainstream media still won't talk about it, but Live says children rescued and enemies captured this FBI. Of course, this is from the FBI Director Kash Patel, and he's talking about all the historic things that have happened in 2025. I'm going to read some of these to you. Increase in violent crime arrests year to year, up 112%. Decrease in homicides, down 20%. Decrease in robberies, down 20%. Decrease in aggravated assaults. 1,800 gangs and criminal enterprises disrupted. 200% increase in disrupting these gangs. That's big. 2,250 kilos of fentanyl have been seized. This is up 31% from previous years. This was enough fentanyl to kill 178 million Americans. 21 cyber-related dismantlements. It's up 16%. 346 cyber-related indictments, up 27%. Of course, we just talked about cyber stuff, so that's a big deal. 490% increase in FBI-affiliated nihilistic violent extremism and arrests. So this is taking care of those that are not protesting peacefully, but are being very violent in what they do. 20% increase in the FBI arrests related to the 764 network. 6,000 child victims have been located. This is up 30% increase over previous years. So they're finding the missing children. That's great. 1,700 child predators have been arrested. This is up 17% from previous years. And 300 plus human traffickers have been arrested, which is up 15% previous years. This is big. So crime is coming down. We're getting the bad guys off the streets. Thank you. The FBI seems to be under completely different leadership and on a tear to do some great things. Trump solves the Homeland Security funding problem created by Congress by sending in ICE to resolve excessive security lines at America's airports. Last week, we reported big lines building up in many of the airports, people waiting hours and hours to get through security. Let's take a look at some of the stuff that's happened here. First off, we got a brand new Department of Homeland Security secretary, and he was sworn in this week. So let's take a listen to the swearing in.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear.
I do solemnly swear.
Mark Wayne Mullen.
Mark Wayne Mullen.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
And that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same.
And I will bear true faith to allegiance and do the same.
And that I take this obligation freely.
Take this obligation freely.
Without any mental reservation.
Without any mental reservation.
Or purpose of evasion.
Or purpose of evasion.
And that I will well and faithfully.
And that I will well and faithfully.
Discharge the duties of the office.
Discharge the duties of the office.
On which I am about to enter.
Which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Secretary.
So he enters the office as the new Secretary of Department of Homeland Security with no paycheck. He actually makes a little comment about it right here, right after swearing in, about how they're not being paid because Congress, particularly the Senate, can't seem to pass the bill to authorize the funding. Take a listen.
Thank you. I think that was the most nervous I've ever been. It just seems surreal being in the Oval Office and having the President of the United States speak so highly of me and then recognize my family and know my family by name. It's humbling, and I never take it for granted, but I made this very clear that I don't care what color your state is. I don't care if you're red or you're blue. At the end of the day, my job is to be Secretary of Homeland and to protect everybody the same, and we will do that. I'll fight every single day. Today I got the privilege of meeting so many of the employees at DHS. These employees have been there for 30 days without pay. And if you need anything to know their dedication to show up and still protect the homeland that you and I enjoy and the freedoms that we're experiencing, they're working with for free because of political politics. That's all I need to know. I told them, as you're fighting 365 days, understand I'll be fighting 365 days beside you. No one's going to outwork me, and I'm not going to let any of them outwork me. The President has entrusted me with this, and failure is not an option. And so thank you so much, Mr. President, for this opportunity. I won't let you down.
Thank you very much. I love that expression, no one's going to outwork me. That's a wrestler's expression, isn't it, huh?
So with a new director of Homeland Security in place, we have all kinds of things taking place. ICE showed up at airports this week and began to assist in the security lines. And take a look at what they're doing here. This is a video of an ICE officer handing out water to these passengers standing in line. Great.
Anybody want a water? Cold water? These ones are cold on this side. Good to boy. Yeah. Water? How about you, Emma? Water? Share? Yep, no problem. Thank you.
So great things going on there. The Babylon Bee couldn't help itself. Just had to put out a very hilarious post here. TSA reduces delays by eliminating colonoscopy portion of the search. Of course, everybody's having a little fun with this, but it actually it's been very serious for those sitting in lines, missing flights, and not able to get to their destinations. Kevin Sorbo posted this video, and this was a video of a journalist from Florida posting a little bit about the amazing thing that's happened since ICE showed up to help in the airport. Let's take a listen to what she says.
And the wait line looks like this. In the couple of hours that I've been here, I've seen ICE officers patrolling, and the line has looked the same since I got here. Completely empty. So if you see wait times go down while you're traveling, you may just want to thank an ICE officer. Earlier this morning, travelers may have experienced a little bit of a wait time, but since I've been here, the lines seem to be moving fairly smooth.
So going well in Florida, no more lines. Thank you, ICE officers. CNN had this to report. Also, things are going well.
Finally, we can take a deep breath here. The numbers have dropped off. The lines are getting shorter. I think the average wait time now is under 40 minutes. So if you have a flight to catch today, it's a good time to come to Hartsfield-Jackson International.
So again, Hartsfield-Jackson Airport running well, and CNN even reporting that. And we call them the fake news. So very interesting. EPA does its part to try to help ease gasoline prices. EPA fortifies domestic fuel supply, provides Americans with relief at the pump by approving nationwide E15 and removing the boutique fuel markets for E10. What this does is it means that they can use the ethanol and stuff that's already in the system and just go ahead and get it out there. And there's no summertime restrictions are being placed on those fuels at this time. So very fascinating, and I think that's a great thing to do. One American News posted this. The Pentagon issues new press credentials. Now, this is big because there's been a lot of controversy over the press that's at the Pentagon, and are they really reporting the news as it's actually occurring or not? We heard some stuff today in the cabinet meeting from the Secretary of War directly to the journalists saying that you are not reporting the truth. Take a listen to what happened. A judge ruled. There was here. Let me set this up so that you understand. There were journalists that were upset by the changes in policy of the Pentagon, and they took it to court, and the judge ruled in the favor of the Pentagon. Take a listen.
The Pentagon releases new press credentials after a judge struck down their previous press policy. On Monday, Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell said he disagreed with the judge's ruling and vowed to appeal, but in the meantime has signed a revised press policy. That revised policy closes the Pentagon's media offices effective immediately. This comes after dozens of journalists were barred from the Pentagon after they refused to the War Department's press policy. Parnell said a new facility will be made for reporters outside the building, which will be available when ready.
So these people that were complaining about the policies created an issue, took it to court. The judge sides with the journalists and says, Pentagon, you can't do this. So what do? They respond by just kicking all the journalists completely out of the Pentagon and saying, we'll build a new building where you can put yourselves out here somewhere separate from us, and we'll let you know when it's ready for you. They're all unhappy, as you saw their images carrying their stuff out of the Pentagon. They're just getting stuff done. Secretary of War isn't messing around. Dow Rapid Response posted this. Secretary of War has just signed a directive to ensure that all National Guard members that are serving as a task force in D.C., New Orleans, border security, and other missions will receive the same benefits. Listen to what Trump says about this.
Pleased to announce that the Secretary of War used to be the Secretary of Defense. We made a minor change. We like the sound of it better. That the Secretary of War has just signed a directive to ensure that all National Guard members serving on this task force, as well as in D.C., New Orleans, and our border security missions, will receive the same benefits as active duty troops because you deserve it. That's not bad. That's not bad.
Well, I think it's great that these National Guardsmen are going to get the additional benefits that they should have had for all the work that they're doing to keep our nation safe. While at this meeting, Trump made another comment that I want to play that I think has a very important, it's a very important point that he makes, but it's about how immigration enforcement also is about citizenship and proof of citizenship and how that might affect elections. Take a listen.
Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. Think of it. We're talking about two separate items, but they're really the same. Voter ID is part of Homeland Security. And citizenship, proof of citizenship, is part of Homeland Security.
Many are talking about this, thinking that the president is setting the stage for ICE to be a part of the upcoming elections as we come up here to elections in November, and that ICE may be able to provide security to ensure that voter ID is checked and that everybody is qualified before they actually can vote. This would be a big move if that's what's occurring. Is America's future in the capable hands of the next generation? As we have had spring break happen over the last few weeks here in the United States, many college students have gone out to party and celebrate and take a break from all of their school studies. And Johnny, who works with Jesse Waters, of course, had to go out and interview this. Jesse Waters used to do this himself years ago, where he'd go to the beaches and ask various questions to these college students. And so his guy, Johnny, has gone out there to ask these questions. Let's take a listen to what they had to say, and you be the judge on whether our future's in good hands.
What college you guys go to?
UTC. FAU.
Sacred Heart University.
Ohio State.
Spring break 2026. What is the game plan?
Drinking, blackout with my rack out.
If my mom is watching, I'm sorry, Mom, but I've been getting pretty drunk almost every day.
Hook up with some girls, get with as many girls as we can, and not come back with an STD.
Wake out with one person each night, that's it.
So how many guys have you made out with this week?
I've been here for about 10 days, so 10.
What were their names?
I don't remember.
Name one.
Name me one. Name me one.
What is the craziest thing you've seen at spring break?
Not that crazy. I've seen people do like cocaine off of boobs. I saw a girl like black out on the street. That was pretty exciting. Sunday mimosa drag races.
You see that guy take his pants off in the middle of the club?
There's a lot of famous people down here.
Have you seen Johnny Belisario?
What?
Never mind.
Okay.
What is the wildest thing you've done down here?
Got with somebody the first night that I came down here.
Pole dancing.
2 days ago.
Stripping naked, getting in the water. You gotta say. What'd you do? You went something crazy.
On the strip?
Honestly. All right, on the strip?
No, we had this.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay, that's...
What issue facing America is the most important to you?
What bikini I'm gonna wear next? Obesity is terrible.
ICE. Not personally, I'm legal.
Getting a tan on the beach. That's the most important thing in my life right now.
I'm thinking about Starbucks, to be honest. I'm thinking about Starbucks, what I'm gonna get for today.
The elevators don't work. You got 43 floors. The elevators don't work.
I could take this little glass of water, drop it in the magnets. That's the end of the elevator.
What have you heard that Donald Trump has been doing recently?
Gulf of America. That's the last thing I kept up with.
We're going to war with Iraq. That's been crazy.
What do you do in Colombia? You got Maduro out? I don't with Trump, but that done.
He's like trying to sue those people for making jokes about him.
600 times!
times. You must be happy.
I'm very happy.
The Ayatollah's dead.
I'm so. What? Who? What? What is that?
Who the is Ayatollah?
I've never heard that word in my life.
Lewis, what's Ayatollah?
I haven't heard. I found out about Chuck Norris yesterday. That was more devastating to me.
He was the supreme leader of Iran. He's dead?
Oh, damn it.
We killed him.
You did? You killed him?
Johnny.
Whoa. If you were in charge, how would you take on Iran?
Yeah, all my girls and we would all start putting belts on them.
We get a bunch of girls in bikinis, we make them run across the battlefield. All the guys are distracted, we all run in.
Look at him in his eyes, I guess. Flirt with him.
I'd blow him up.
I don't know enough about it, but I would probably wipe it out.
Drop a bomb. Baby, bomb the out of him.
I would bomb the out of him.
What have you heard about Venezuela?
Venezuela? Nothing.
I'm not sure.
I barely know what'll be going on in like Tennessee where I'm from.
That they beat us in the World Baseball Classic?
Have you heard anything else?
No.
Nothing. I have heard nothing about Venezuela.
You know, honestly, I don't know and I don't care.
Where is Venezuela?
I don't know. I'm drunk. I don't know. Venezuela? Isn't that in Spain?
No.
Go easy on the tequila.
What do you want to tell Jesse Waters? You're on his show.
That's the guy who was eating the steak, remember? It was like in front of the vegan guy.
Oh, Jesse Waters. Do you know who I am?
I do not.
Here's Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
So, very frightening that how much our youth actually understand what's going on in our world today. We've got one more to show you. Okay. Take a look at this. This is, well, it's self-explanatory. Okay. Okay. A little bit of fun there. We always have to have a little bit of humor so that we don't get too serious about this stuff. But just so that you don't lose your faith in the youth, we do have another story to tell. Billy knew it. As we're coming up to Palm Sunday here, this Sunday, there is an important event that's about to take place as Easter comes every spring. And it's coming a week from Sunday. Palm Sunday is called Palm Sunday because it's the day that Jesus rode into Jerusalem on the donkey, and many came out to greet him, waving palm fronds, and laid them on the ground at his feet as he came through on the donkey. After which, the following day, he would go and overturn the tables of the money changers. Of course, later that week, they would hang him on the cross. But I want to tell you a little bit of story about a boy named Billy. This is a young man. He was 10 years old. And Billy had lived most of his life in a wheelchair. He had cerebral palsy. And went to Sunday school, and it was the spring of the year, just like this time of year. And the teacher said she wanted the kids to all learn something about spring and what the newness of life meant when spring happens. So she had them all go outside, and they took little plastic Easter eggs. And she gave each child a little plastic Easter egg. And she says, I want you to find something in the yard around the church here that reminds you of the newness of life, of new things coming out, beautiful things in the spring. So all the kids began to gather their items, some a blade of grass, another a leaf from a shrub, another a blossom from a tree. And they gathered all their items. And so she let them gather their things, and they all came back into class. And they sat down, and she gave time for each child to open their little plastic Easter egg and show their beautiful thing that they had picked up that reminded them of spring. So she asked each child to show their Easter egg. And as they opened them up, and they talked about the grass and the blossoms and the new leaves that were forming on trees and shrubbery and other things, eventually they get around the class and they get to Billy, and Billy's sitting there in his wheelchair, and he's got his egg, and he opens it up and it's empty. And the teacher turns to Billy and he says, Billy, why didn't you put something in your Easter egg about the newness of life. And he sat there a moment, and everyone, all their eyes were fixed upon him, wondering what he was going to say about why his egg was empty. And he turned to the teacher and he said, "Teacher, don't you understand? The tomb was empty." As the room fell silent, and many of the kids that originally had begun to snicker and sneer at Billy realized he knew what the newness of life really was. Billy would succumb to his disease some years later. These kids, now older as teenagers, came to the funeral. And as they held the viewing, his classmates came in and they all walked up to pay their respects to Billy. And they each placed a little plastic empty Easter egg inside of the casket with him. This confused everyone as they began to look at this. And what are they watching? And someone pulled one of the youth aside and says, "Why did you put Easter eggs in Billy's casket?" And they all turned when they heard the question. And they said, "Because the tomb was empty." And Billy knew it. So as we get ready for Easter, a renewal of all things, there is so much to be excited about, so much to look forward to. We have talked about all of these wonderful things taking place throughout the world and how they're affecting each one of us. All of these events are about a renewal, a new beginning, a time when we can be released from the slavery, released from the oppression, and have a new beginning ourselves. So as we go into Palm Sunday, I'll be traveling next week, the week before Easter. I won't be able to do a report. So I'll be back with you after Easter. I wanted to wish all of you a wonderful and happy Easter. It is joyous to me that we live in a time when we are the recipients of every good gift. As we contemplate the empty tomb and what it means for us, that no matter how broken we are, no matter how imperfect, no matter our challenges and difficulties, the Savior is there and asks us to come, take his yoke upon us, for it is light. So if you're weighed down with struggle, with challenges, with the weight of the world, all of this that is transpiring, look to him and he will lift your load. For he has risen. He has overcome the evil that all of this world suffers from. It has already been done. And it is there for each one of you. So as we look at Easter and this beautiful time before us, we have such a wonderful opportunity to start again, to live in hope, to walk away from the plantation of our enslavement. And we will see a better and brighter future. I know it's difficult. As an old system comes down, it always is. But there is so much hope. There is so many good things transpiring, and we've talked about them today. These events are what lead us to true liberation, as we've got big things coming on the 4th of July. New money. with the new president on it. Very fascinating what's coming. Be joyful. Be of good cheer. For he is risen, and he has overcome all. Until next time, you all have a wonderful and beautiful weekend. I hope that you will reach out to your neighbors and friends and those around you and wish them a happy and joyous Easter, and be thrilled that the opportunity is before us every day to begin again. Until next time, we'll see you on the other side of Easter. Have an enjoyable holiday. Celebrate with your family and friends, and we'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.